Hi, welcome to the podcast. I'm Kelly Vandever, and my special guest today is Tyler Jones. Tyler, would you tell folks a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. My name is Tyler Jones. I've been in IT for about 15 years now here in Atlanta. I have been director of data center operations for banking industry related services companies. I've managed a national check image archive for a large financial services institution. My last role in corporate America before starting my own company was as a vice president of service operations for the third largest payroll provider. And about 3 years ago, I started my own small business, realizing that I frequently wished I had somebody with my skill set doing work that I was the executive sponsor for. And I thought, hey, I can do that. And so we are a small business focused IT services provider. The company's Carmichael Consulting Solutions. And honestly, that has been met with a great reception. People are actually looking for knowledgeable people who deliver great customer service. And we've been warmly received by a growing number of customers. So that's been very rewarding.
And I understand you're having great success, so
Yes.
I'm so happy for you. You're very deserving of it.
Thank you.
All right. So tell us a little bit about some of in your roles as an executive, what were some of the types of presentations that you observed that people were pitching to you or trying to get your input on or your buy-in in?
Sure. And you're exactly right. We do have a mixture there because you've got your own staff who's presenting up to corporate peers and betters. You also have a lot of salespeople who are wanting to get in front of you. And my experience has been that a presentation has three factors, and you got to have at least two of these to be successful in my mind. You have a charismatic presenter. You can have a great product or service or topic to be talking about. And you can have a subject matter expert who's actually doing the delivery. And the reason I say you've got to have, at least in my experience, two of those three is we've all seen some charismatic salesperson who's very product knowledgeable, but may not have a great product they're talking about, but they're successful because they've got two of those. The opposite of that is you've got a great product and you've got somebody who'd rather be in a back room coding, but somehow they've got forced in front of a customer,
Right.
but they're exceedingly knowledgeable about the product. So you've got a great product and they're exceedingly knowledgeable, and that's going to get through some of their hesitation about delivery. So again, I think two of those three are what you need to be successful. If you get all three, well, you've knocked it out of the park. And the best example of that I've ever seen is I did a few years in radio here in Atlanta, and I was fortunate enough to get to go to Macworld, New York, back when that was still happening, and to be in the same room as Steve Jobs. If you as a presenter ever want to have something to model after, that is honestly the ultimate presenter I've ever seen. And honestly, I think he had all three of those things. He was obviously a very dynamic, very charismatic presenter. But he also was heavily involved. If you've read his autobiography or ever read about the man, very heavily involved in product development. So he knew the product exceptionally well, and it had his mark on it. And he was a totalitarian person, but he also believed in absolutely making world-class products. So I think those three together are what made him kind of that penultimate presenter. And I think it's a little unfair to say that that's simply his charisma, the reality distortion field. I think if you were lacking those other components, he wouldn't have worked. If Steve Jobs had stood in front of the 70 whatever Pinto, I don't think he would have been the Steve Jobs we knew. But I think that all of those things work together to really make a great presentation and a great presenter.
Excellent. Wow. Great. Great. Thank you for that perspective on that, Tyler. So what are the biggest mistakes that you see presenters make when they're in front of you and trying to get your buy-in on something?
Sure. I think one of the biggest mistakes that presenters tend to make is to not be deeply knowledgeable about what they're presenting or about the presentation they're delivering. We've all been in situations or seen situations where somebody you can tell just got handed that presentation last night and said, you're doing this tomorrow. That's very clear. And if they're not passionate about the subject they're delivering about and they're not knowledgeable about either the product, service, topic, whatever it is, and don't know the presentation, that to me is when you reach that really awkward point where I'm not getting anything out of this. There is no kind of underlying value that overcomes the awkwardness of the presentation. And I think that's usually where you have your biggest kind of uncomfortable moments in presentations. I think, like I said, if you can get over that, if you can be knowledgeable about the presentation, even if you may not be involved with or feel particularly strongly about what you're delivering, if you can at least know the material and you're a charismatic delivery person, you can still be okay.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So what are three things that you wish that your employees or your vendors knew when going in to present with you? You've mentioned the three things you think that make a good presenter, but are there other things? What are some things that you wish that they knew going in to present with you?
Absolutely. The top one there is probably always know your audience. Know who you're delivering to, know what they want to hear. They may be a technical audience who want to go way down into the weeds, but most of the time we're delivering to a business owner or a small business executive. They want to know exactly what you're bringing to the table for them. They don't care about the bits and the bolts. They care about, is their business going to be successful because of the service we're delivering? So again, I think knowing your audience is critically important. The second is still, though, knowing your subject matter. Don't get caught off guard. Don't have somebody in the audience ask a question and you have absolutely no idea. Now, that's going to happen at some point, and it's always okay to say, let me check on that, let me pull my expert up to the stage, whatever you need to do, but have that happen as rarely as possible. The third is, again, really know the service that you are delivering, not just the topic necessarily, but know the business that your audience is in. When you're delivering, particularly in a sales environment, know that customer's business. Don't go in blind. There's so much information on the internet today.
Right.
There's no excuse for going in completely blind and not understanding anything about your customer's industry. So know the audience, know the industry they're in, know the material, know the product you're delivering about. I think those are the key things. And we've all, unfortunately, most of us have at least been in those points where the salesperson just clearly does not know their subject of that they're delivering on.
Yeah.
That they clearly can't come up with the answers to basic product questions or basic business questions around their industry. And they clearly don't know what you're doing. Anytime a salesperson opens with, so tell me about what your business does, I'm always a little off foot. Like I said, there's no excuse for not knowing that going in. You ought to be able to at least say, well, I know you're in this business, and in general terms, here's how that industry is doing, and here's generally how those businesses operate. Tell me what's unique about your business. That's a great place to start.
Gotcha, gotcha. So now that you're on the other side of things and you're probably doing more pitches than you're receiving, what kind of things have, is there anything extra that you would add to the mix there in your experiences presenting to other executives?
Well, having spent most of my career on the other side of the table, I certainly believe that that's prepared me well to now be the presenter in those situations. And those things that I've always historically looked for in a sales presentation are very much what I'm focused about delivering now. And again, that is, what's the value proposition I'm bringing to that potential customer? Mm-hmm. I want them to know not what my business is about. I want them to know that I know what their business is about, how we can be supportive of their business. Honestly, in IT, one of our big mantras is that if you never have to think about IT, that means we're actually doing our job really well.
Right.
Let's face it, if you are in the industry of manufacturing and all you think about is how IT is working, you're not thinking about your business.
Right.
Again, we need to be focused on ensuring that IT is almost an invisible thing to you, that you simply consume the services, that they work reliably and without interruption, and that that's what you get out of that, that you don't have to think about IT, that you can focus on your business. I work with a lot of very intelligent people in legal professions, in medical professions, in lots of other disciplines, and they'll frequently say, gosh, I can't believe I don't understand IT. And I'll always tell them, I could not begin to do your job. So let's both just be experts in our own field, and we'll find a happy place to meet in the medium. And they love that because, let's face it, I could no sooner set up a mortgage closing or court or perform minor surgery, then I could flap my arms and fly. So we are all experts in something. Respect that in your customer and show them where you can be supportive of what they are doing.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Tyler, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate the wisdom that you shared with us, and I wish you continued success with Carmichael Consulting.
Thank you, Kelly. Entirely my pleasure.